stones. No broken promises, no busy tones. Just what it takes, just make believe. No one belongs to anything. I've seen the lies, I've seen the lies, I've seen the lies. Train go by, it's kill or be killed. I wonder who lives. Too long to stay outside.
Question of the day is, what is this song? I don't know.
I live. There I am.
There you are.
It gets stuck in my head. Like literally after I watch the show, I'm like
what
humming
is
it in my
this
head.
song? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, is it literally just free?
It's a free
royalty-free music.
Yeah, it's a free thing from the whatchamacallit, the.
I mean, it has to be
YouTube.
an artist that recorded it.
I
mean,
think
it's gotta be a legit song.
What is the name of the group? It's I have it somewhere. But it was a free song that was available only to us here on on the World Wide Web.
There you go.
There you go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Lead Live. It's Friday. We made it. We made it, Amy Goodyear.
We're here.
We are
thankfully.
here. Amy, have you seen the horror that is sorority recruitment videos? Is your daughter a sorority kid?
Is that a joke? Have you met my daughter? No, my daughter's not a sorority chick.
Okay.
And no, I tend to avoid things like that. Although I can imagine it, to be honest.
It's mortifying, quite frankly.
Yeah, that
it's
doesn't surprise me.
Mortifying, to say the least. It's a trend right now that's blowing up because August is when the sororities recruit their new victims.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen it, did you see there was a Dallas Cowboys documentary on Netflix? Is it Netflix or HBO? It was
about the cheerleaders, right?
Cheerleaders,
yeah,
right?
I mean,
yeah.
I didn't. I saw that it existed, but I did not
right.
watch.
So I think now everybody is like doing a. You have to do a dance routine. Let me see if I can. I'm see if I can find this for you so you can see the horror of this thing.
I mean, all I see is you on the
I know,
screen.
hold on a
Where's your
second.
dance routine, man?
Let me go get this here for you. This is ridiculous. It's all over the world, and it's such a strange thing. Like my daughter was in a sorority.
Really?
Yeah, can you imagine that?
Well, yeah, actually, kind of.
Yeah. So she was in a sorority at Baylor, and but it wasn't like this though. Like she didn't have to do this stuff. So have you seen?
Well, there's all kinds of sororities. I mean, there's service-related ones, and there's okay.
So you do a dance, and you have like if you're like, well,
You have to have gone to gymnastics for your entire life to get in.
right. So you
Or
gotta
did they
have-
just make this in order to video it?
and they make it to recruit new members.
Right.
So
Well, I mean, the girl in the back there just swaying. I can do that.
right. Let me see. Okay, the next one. No.
That's my kind of sorority right there.
No. Anyway, so
You got to be careful scrolling through TikTok,
I know,
man.
it's bad.
Especially on a public forum.
I know. Look at this.
You never know what you're going to run
Yeah,
into.
but it's this kind of stuff.
I mean, that's impressive. I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, like, as long as you aren't required to have to dance
Right.
like that to get in.
Like who picked those girls? So that's the thing.
I mean, who knows? What school is this from?
I think it's Alabama.
Okay, so Alabama has probably their choice of girls with dance experience
And
and cheerleading experience.
I saw a thing. So like a lot of the schools in Texas, I think like UT has a group that is sponsored. Their TikTok videos are sponsored by some soft drink or
Sure.
energy drink.
That doesn't surprise me.
thing
This
as
is
well.
a sorority group or like the dance team?
It's like no, it's a sorority,
okay.
which is like a dance team.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I didn't. And then there's like a whole culture of TikTokers and influencers who like they discuss like all the things they're wearing. I bought this. This is.
I actually watch a couple of the. Well, I watch ones that do with vintage clothes, of course.
But this is
I've seen a couple of those.
How should I say this? This is like they have consultants to get into these things.
Yeah, it's the whole industry.
It's crazy.
It's an entertainment industry, but it's definitely. People watch it.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. And then there's been criticisms of it, and you've got to do a dance, and and actually HBO has a whole documentary dedicated to rushing for the sororities in Alabama.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I have one of my bridesmaids, my very, very best friends from college. Both of her kids are students at Alabama.
So
and they love it, but they're I don't think they're that, and don't think they're that type. They're more along our lines.
More along our lines.
More like nerdy science kids.
Yeah. It's usually the southern schools, and A&M's got some. There's some there
I
as
would
well.
doubt that not.
Yeah, but you went to A&M. Though,
I did,
right?
in fact.
You didn't rush though. No, right?
No. I also got married after my sophomore year, so that would have been a little.
That would have been a problem. Yeah, that would have been a problem.
No. I think no. I don't even think I was part of like an academic group.
Really?
I think technically I was, but I didn't ever like.
What's interesting is that these young ladies spend, like, part of it is they spend thousands of dollars on clothes and jewelry.
Right.
So it's very.
I could never have afforded to do that either.
Very interesting.
No, all my time went into the theater, as you can imagine.
Yeah. All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Lead Live. I'm Louis Amestoy. It's Friday. We're from the Peterson Health Digital Studio at Pine and Plow Brewing Company. It is Andrew Gay is here now, waiting for us. Him joining us.
Right.
Andrew, stop talking. He's yelling it. Oh my God, he's yelling. He's so angry.
Maybe he's just animated. He's excited about finance, Louis.
He is fine. Let me see. He's yelling at Gilbert. I'm a little alarmed by this. Hold on a second. Let me get his audio.
See if you can tap in.
Let's see. He's got his audio turned off.
Do you
have a video of this yelling?
I don't. Dang it.
Sorry. I was talking to someone, Louis.
You were yelling at. You were yelling.
I wasn't ignoring you.
You were yelling at Gilbert.
You're apparently being very passionate.
No, I was actually talking to Zach, our former intern.
Oh, is he?
Stop by for him.
Oh, good. Well, you were very animated. That's for sure.
Yes.
Were you in a fraternity at where did you go? Sam Houston?
No, I went to Sam Houston's rival, which was Stephen F. Austin.
Oh, right. Oh, is Stephen F. Austin in Nacogdoches?
Yeah, it's in Nacogdoches,
Okay.
and Sam Houston is in Huntsville. And when they play together in football, it was deemed the Battle of the Piney Woods, and there was a big Indian, like a wooden Indian statue that would change hands depending on who was the winner, most recent winner of the Battle of the Piney Woods.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes,
I was in a fraternity when I was there.
Did you? So you were in a fraternity though? You did a fraternity?
I did. Yes, I sure did.
Okay. All right.
I lived at the house for like 2.5 years, the full bit.
Okay. And did you have to do a dance scene?
A dance scene?
Did you have to do a dance?
Did you have to dance? Did you have to do a dance when you were rushed?
Yeah.
During rush.
Yeah, it wasn't. Okay, so hazing wasn't really like a thing. They had kind of done away with a lot of that. Before I had gotten there, but I did have to do stuff. I don't particularly remember dancing like specifically, but yeah, I had to do some goofy stuff for sure.
Did you? Really? Well, I mean, the latest one is building off that Dallas Cowboys thing. They do the Thunderstruck thing, and it's like every single girl in the group is like a cheerleader. So, except for, Tawny Fontaine Jenner would not be allowed in these things. So, but all right. So you I can see that. What was the craziest thing you had to do to get into a fraternity?
Well, what I'm sitting here thinking about is maybe not like the craziest thing. Like we had to do, so there was a pledge auction at one point.
Oh my gosh.
We got auctioned off.
That sounds troubling. That sounds troubling.
The old slave auction.
That was like one of the first things right out of the gate too.
That sounds awful.
I would say one of the things that comes to mind is because we were in the piney woods, right? So we're like in the forest over there in the pine trees, and there was a lot of stuff that was done like off in the woods, you know, and you're like, a lot of times you're with your pledge brothers.
That is awful. This keeps getting worse, man.
I'm not sure we need to know more about that.
It wasn't like weird or anything. It was
Yeah.
all like to build a bond with the guys that I was pledging with, which actually I'm still friends with a lot of them today. Most of them are still around Texas, and we keep up with each other, and made lifelong friends out of that. And
Yeah.
we got away without doing anything too weird.
Right.
It's not like what you see in the movies.
No, not at all. But the TikToks though are just crazy though. I mean, you got to see these videos.
Well, I'm so glad that I went to school. I feel like I was one of the last of the generation that got through high school and even college without smartphones, really. I mean, I think like Facebook was coming of age. I think some of my first Facebook pictures were back in, when I was in
Well, I
college,
have a video
like,
attack about being old.
I think it was 08, 09, so
Yeah.
iPhone had just come out in 2007, so social media wasn't quite what it is now. So I'm glad I got to do that. We spent a lot more time with each other. I made really good friends.
Look at this, Andrew. Look at this.
Well, once again, you see the majority of the girls are just there in the back swing.
Yeah.
So you got the girls in front
Right.
who can actually dance.
Right.
That
So,
was Delta Zeta.
yeah. I mean, could you, I don't know. I mean, does everyone have that dance skill? These are important questions, Andrew. You gotta have somebody who can do backflips too. I mean,
That's hilarious. You know what? When we decided to rush buildings in like the gorgeous old some of us would have it painted on our chest or wearing a shirt of like our decision about what fraternity we were going to rush or whatever.
Yeah.
We'd come out, run down the steps, and dive into a crowd. And all the fraternities were lined up in rows, so we would basically get to crowd surf back through to the fraternity we were picking or whatever. But I mean, I'm looking at all these dances and all these people that were lined up like this, and
Right.
I can envision that same scenario of us trying to do that and do something like this. I mean, we didn't even make it down those steps. Guys were busting their rear before they can even jump off the steps.
I want to know how
I
often
don't know how we would have ever coordinated anything.
how
like
many
this.
injuries are related to sorority rush. I mean, there's some energy into that too.
I would say there's probably more with fraternity rush than
Yeah,
sorority
right.
rush.
Yeah, it's a little less organized.
I
think.
did see. By the way, I was Animal House there was a clip from Animal House this morning, and the fraternity was like, "Here's how many people have been. Here's your grades for the Mr. Blutowski 0.0."
Yeah. Hey, what was the movie that it was fairly recent where maybe it was it the recent Lampoon movie where the wife they end up at the sorority house and then the wife's was like the queen of the drunken sorority and her picture is like in the yearbook and she's like, I still got it. And she does this like ninja warrior
Oh my gosh!
alcoholic run and just like pukes her brains out. It's hilarious.
That sounds.
you haven't seen that one?
I think I know which one you're talking about. Right.
I think
It's a recent movie?
Yeah.
National Lampoon or Meet the Millers, maybe one of those movies.
Old school with Will Ferrell and
Gotcha.
Vince Vaughn.
Well, Real Genius.
Real
that one?
Oh yeah.
That was based on the dorm my son lived in his freshman year.
Really.
Yep.
Interesting. That's a terrific movie. Val
is.
Kilmer.
Yep.
Some guy that has a weird looking face.
Yep.
People that just showed up. I think Alan Arkin's son's in that.
Okay, so you want to talk about the economy? Or
Listen,
Yeah.
I don't know if you read the newsletter today or not yet, Andrew. I had some problems with it. Apparently, I forgot to include the weather, and I misspelled Kristen Hook's name, but that's okay. I
saw your post about something related to inflation or prices or something.
I asked people what
What's gotten more expensive?
What's gotten more expensive,
saw that.
and we had I think we had ended up having. When I looked last night after I published, initially we had about 70 comments. That has now ballooned to about 100 comments. And I
It's
actually,
great, and it's funny. But think about what we were talking about the other day, right? Like how inflation has been what most of us as the consumer feels
Yeah.
the most, like it hits closest to home, and it makes us feel like economically we might not be doing too well when the economic backdrop with all the other pieces of the economic equation look like they're doing just fine.
Yeah.
And that's probably, I think, a great example of that. I mean, you bring up inflation and people got a lot to say about it.
A lot of people, obviously had the obvious ones: groceries, rent,
Insurance.
Insurance was probably number one. I broke it down at one point, and then I decided not to use it because I forgot I had done it. Where it was the percentage of issues, and rent was insurance was number one. And so I started looking into that a little bit, and I found that S&P Global earlier this year found that car insurance rates across Texas rose by 46%, like some of the highest in the state. Here's one comment. Homeowner insurance has the most gravity. We are talking double. This is from Shelley Meyer. And then our friend Paul Huckton, who's an insurance guy, I believe. He added a couple comments. He says, insurance for sure, home and auto, though it can't be attributed to inflation. Cars, trucks, also part of the reason insurance has gone up. Bonus groceries, a big part of the reason these have gone up so much is that other transportation costs have gone up considerably. These are all linked, of course. For instance, the vast majority of what we buy is transported by trucks. When trucks are involved in accidents with passenger cars, the cost to repair or replace those cars have risen significantly, which results in higher expenses for the insurance companies and about doubling of truck insurance rates in the last 1 to 2 years. That has to be passed along in higher premiums to trucking companies, and that reduction in profit, increased expense, is passed along to everyone who buys a product transported by trucks, or the trucking companies would cease to exist. That's a pretty astute comment from Paul, who raises a good point too. It's like that's one of those pandemic-related issues, where we're still dealing with the part shortages that are out there.
That's the supply chain side of the issue, and that was what made inflation that kicked up after the pandemic such a problem, and why it was so intense, because it wasn't just that there was excess money in the system with that pushed excess demand from the consumer side of the equation, right? It also was from the supply side being choked off, which made the gap even bigger, and that pushed inflation up even more violently and faster.
A lot of people were also mentioning too. Let me see here. Somebody was saying, please write your story with facts, not opinions. There are tons of economic charts that show the facts of inflation, its costs associated with producing goods that makes inflation. There's a lot of different takes on that, though, which is a problem. So there's no real true fact. There's a lot of theory about there's a lot of theory about what this is about, and
as far as like inflation.
Well, yeah, because even the economists, like I quoted economists today. So what I did is I took 2 Wallet Hub studies, right? Wallet Hub, they market products, but they always do these reports, and they had a report that said that Texas had, of the top 20 cities in the country, Texas had 11 that were leading in number of debt collections, right? The debt collections were, like Laredo and Corpus Christi were number 1 as far as cities where they had the most debt collections on the books. But then there was also this number that they readjusted things for inflation, and they said, well, Houston and Dallas are the least affected by inflation of any major cities in the country. But then we asked people, that's why I wanted to ask people, well, what is your thought about inflation? What is causing it? And there were some in the comments who said, well, we also think it's corporate profits, which is, there was that comment as well. One guy from the University of Texas at Rio Grande Valley wrote, I always tell my students, when you're looking at the drivers of inflation, look at corporate profits. If there is inflation and there is a primary legitimate cause on the supply side, corporations would reasonably raise prices to account for rising input costs, but profits should be flat at best. However, prices are rising, corporate profits are rising. We can properly place the blame on the corporations, intentionally raising prices. Another guy from Duke said...
Wait. Hold up.
Yep.
Can I say something about that?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay, all right, hold on. Let me,
Yep.
Andrew Gay here, independent financial advisor with Texas Hill Country
He's
Advisors.
fired up.
We offer securities and investment advisory services through Next Financial Group, member FINRA SIPC. So I just wanted to comment on that. I saw a meme the other day that was, it was like the Scooby-Doo guy taking the mask off. Guy's like, let's see who you really are.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was said it was inflation in the first scene. He takes the mask off and it says, oh, it's corporate greed. Well, is there some truth to that? Maybe. That definitely is a part of the equation. But to think that you completely leave aside fiscal policy, and not necessarily fiscal policy in the sense of policy, but the fact that Congress is the one that spends money and decides to put more money into the system. The Fed doesn't do that. The Fed does monetary policy, right? And a lot of people get that mixed up, and even economists sometimes put the blame on the Fed, and the Fed doesn't have any authority to do any of that. They are a reaction function to what Congress does.
Right.
So if Congress decides to pass bills to spend and spend money, and then or stimulus, right, to pump money, to print money. They don't actually print money. It's through repurchase agreements through the FOMC. And so they buy or sell bonds that electronically, that's what puts money back into the system. And that's all from Congress. The Fed doesn't do that. They're just taking instruction from Congress. So yes, corporate profits might have something to do with their individual company's balance sheet. And yes, we're talking about these mammoth companies that own, they're bigger than us. We can even imagine, but that might be some of it, but it is definitely not anywhere near the biggest piece of the equation. The biggest part of that is the connectedness, the interconnectedness of the global economy, which is what we saw through COVID with supply chains being choked off. And we're not talking about supply chains, domestic supply chains necessarily. We're talking about global supply chains that are stuff that's being shipped on containers from China to get to the trucks in the U.S. to ship to us once they're here in the U.S. And then on the other side is the demand side with the consumer, and that story is all related to the stimulus that Congress passed. So yeah, corporate profits might have something to do with it, but not on a lot bigger picture on a global scale. That's not really accurate, I think, for what we're talking about as far as
that's the moment when we ask, we hit the Don't Look Up, the Jonah Hill comment, from Don't Look Up, University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. Isn't there somebody from the Ivies that can answer that? But the Duke guy said, the main factors, in my opinion, are excessive government spending and the Federal Reserve's purchase of Treasury securities to finance such spending. The Fed's balance sheet is now $8.9 trillion.
The Fed didn't decide to do that. Congress is telling them to do that.
Yeah, see?
So they're not. So why is it the Fed's fault?
Yeah.
Because they're just taking direction from Congress.
Right.
So once again, that guy, where was his education from?
Duke.
And he can't understand that the Fed is reacting to Congress.
See,
that's why Gilbert and I pound the table over and over again that we need to make a conscious effort, every single one of us, about who we take information from, and when we're out in the world, in social media stratosphere or whatever, we just need to be really careful.
Hey, these are the experts, man. This is what they said the experts were.
There's over 400 PhDs at the Fed, Lewis.
Yeah.
And even with all of them, they still don't have a crystal ball. They still can't tell us what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And frankly, I just had a conversation yesterday about, there was an economist, my personal favorite economist, wrote a piece about monetary policy a couple of weeks ago, and I'd be happy to share it with you. But it talks about the difference between the scarce reserve system that was in place leading up to 2008, and then what happened after 2008 when the Fed basically, or Congress, through Congress's direction, switched to what they call now an abundant reserve ratio for banks and the Fed. And I could go down that rabbit hole is very deep.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you and I can have a one-off on it and talk about that. But
Yeah.
There's definitely some stuff there that might be of interest.
Your mom says Happy Friday, by the way.
Anyway, so
but I mean, I think though, it was interesting though to go down that rabbit hole, to ask people what they thought, and we had I think it ended up being, groceries and insurance were the two biggies. There was it was like 30% each, and then the rest was like dog food was actually a significant one for people.
That's not a grocery.
Food. Well, I kind of lumped it separately,
yeah, I guess so.
Because not everybody has an animal, but everyone's got
Sure.
to eat. So
no, but I can tell you that canned dog food that we buy at Pet Supplies Plus is almost double the price.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
somebody
Same.
wrote,
I just bought some yesterday.
Somebody wrote a comment. It was kind of interesting. There's a lot of interesting comments actually. Somebody wrote Nutella.
That's definitely a grocery.
Hey, let me mention one last thing, and then I probably need to run.
Why? Where are you gonna go? What do you have
You've
to
got
do?
work to do,
No, you
man. It's
don't.
busy. It's Friday.
Go ahead. Continue on.
So the last thing I would say is that Wall Street is looking at closing out a winning week. Most things have clawed back to where they were before the recent volatility and the sell-off that we saw in stock markets over the last couple of weeks. So the NASDAQ, S&P, and Dow are still all trying to hold on to the S&P and NASDAQ are looking at 13 to 15% gains year to date, and the Dow's looking at over 5% if we can close out a positive week this week. So equity markets are optimistic. Traders and investors are optimistic that we got a retail sales number yesterday that came in stronger than expected to show that the consumer is still spending even with inflation coming down and the job market starting to ease up a little bit or normalize, as Jerome Powell would say. The consumer is still spending, so it doesn't look like we're on the cusp of some kind of recession or anything at the moment. So there is still plenty of optimism to go around in financial markets currently. So we got a big couple of weeks coming up with the September meeting from the Fed on the horizon. That's traders and investors are betting right now through the Fed futures markets about a 75% chance that they think the Fed is going to cut in September. So we'll see if we'll continue to monitor that and see if the sentiment changes in the weeks to come.
It's going to be an interesting. The weeks ahead are just going to be fascinating as we continue on this weird march towards November. Everyone's going crazy. It's not going to affect the markets maybe, but Kamala Harris came out today with some tax cut ideas.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Housing
economic ideas that they come out with.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I enjoyed the deep dive yesterday into these things. Where you have sort of like a lot of economic data that's kind of mashing up. That like we were talking about sentiment before, Andrew. That the sentiment is not necessarily with. The sentiment is basically, it's the Leslie sentiment. Like
it's disconnected from the reality.
Right. It's the disconnect is this, or you paint a picture. Here's the facts that we see, right? Statistically, consumer sentiment was up like 2% year over year in July, 1% from June to July. But for a lot of people, it's like, well, I don't feel
it.
I don't feel that optimism, because I don't know. I feel like I write a lot of bills, like a lot of checks for things. So
yeah, but like, how often do we encounter that as humans? Like, we just watched, what's that movie, Room with
that sounds light-hearted viewing.
It is not lighthearted viewing. She is kidnapped and has a kid in captivity.
Yeah.
And the whole time she's fixated on, if I can just get out of this room and be free, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
And then what happens? She gets out. Her and her son are safe. But then all of a sudden there is a whirlwind of stuff that starts to happen because the kid's never been outside of that room. So there's diseases that he might be susceptible to, and he has a weaker immune system. And then there's people that want to talk to her and doctors that want to talk to her, and she's having mental stuff kick up because there's past family members that she's having to reconnect with and deal with these personalities and stuff. And all of a sudden she's like having a breakdown and what is going on? Like, I was supposed to be happy because I'm free now.
The old grass
Because
is
in my
greener
head,
thing.
I imagined it was one way, and this is not it.
Right.
It's like, so that happens to us so much. I think that, and with this economic situation that we're in, is like, we feel like that. Our perception is our reality. Even if it says, hey, we all still, the job market still looks good. We're still all spending money. But man, we're staring inflation in the face every week when we go to the grocery store.
Right.
That stinks, and it stings. It hurts our pocketbooks. But the reality is that we're still spending money, and most of us still have jobs, and there were still jobs to be had if you really wanted a job. It might not be the job you want, but there was a job to be had if you wanted it. Because if things were not so well in those pieces of the economic equation, we would not be spending money,
right?
And we would not be able to find those jobs. So I think it's just a good example of human nature and the human manifestation into stuff like financial markets or economics, where there might be a disconnect between how we feel about something and what's really going on.
Yeah. As always, astute advice or astute counsel from Mr. Andrew Gay, Texas Hill Country Advisor, joins us here 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You can go visit him at his new office at what's the location now?
It's 929 Barnett.
All right. Good job, Andrew.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Guys, have
Talk
a great weekend.
Thanks,
We'll see you
Andrew.
Monday.
Stuff and things going on across Kerr County.
I feel like I should look up the calendar or something and play Leslie. But
yeah, Leslie, I got it right here.
I got it.
All right. We got food trucks all over the place today. Over at the Ingram Dam, you got the Cuisine Barbecue. The Pearl is over at Trailhead Beer Garden from 5 to 9 tonight. Shins Be Blessed over at Tail Chasers from 6 to 9. If you need some outreach help, Grief Support Group. And I saw a really interesting story, by the way, in the New York Times, where they asked people, like, what was their grief go-to when they were in grieving something.
Something about the people bringing them groceries.
Well, it was.
I saw something about
it
that.
It was like, what got you through? Your
yeah.
grief? Was it a movie, a book, some kind of a venture? We're going to ask that question to our readers here. What got you through there? There's the library is going to be over at the Doyle Group on 10:30 this morning, and over at the hospice and home care building at Peterson Health, they have the caregiver support group, which is another important one.
Yeah.
The Teen Lounge over at Doyle Community Center from 3:30 to 5:30 today. If you want to play bingo tonight, 6:30 at the American Legion Post 208. The Dauber Cafe is open during the games. No outside food or drinks. Live music tonight, Dave Kemp over at Cafe at the Ridge, starting at 6 o'clock. 7 o'clock is Central Provisions open mic night. Carlos Dan and the Silver Bulls will be playing over at Howdy's Bar and Grill at 8 p.m. Bob Stewart at Joanne Marie and me in Ingram at 7 p.m. The Maplewood Brothers are going to be over at Gravity Check starting at 7 o'clock. And then, of course, at the VK Garage Theater tonight, 7:30 p.m.
Might be a show.
The Book of Will.
Yes.
By Lauren Gunderson.
Lauren Gunderson.
You can buy the tickets on our website, actually. Promises. The Hill Country Arts Foundation
opens today
at 7:30 p.m. And you can buy tickets also on our website. For tomorrow, by the way, the Kerrville Walking Group will have their walk at 7:30. I don't know exactly where they're at. I think this is their website. Mo Gives Back, by the way. That's tomorrow at Mo Ranch.
Awesome.
That is going to be from 11 to 3. The beneficiary this year is Kerrville Pets Alive. And if you need meditation, the University or the Universal Unitarian Church of the Hill Country will be doing that at 9 o'clock. There's a bird walk and talk tomorrow at 8 o'clock. The Ned Talk will be at 1 p.m. Pathway to Space with astronaut Jessica Whitner. I guess I should probably go to that tomorrow.
Sounds cool.
We have our farmers market, the Heart of the Hills Farmers Market tomorrow at 741 Water Street. That's in the parking lot by the pavilion from 9 to 1 in downtown. The Hillside Harvest Market at 5 Points parking lot on Junction Highway. The KPA Safe House will be open for adoptions. There'll be the Silver Paw special for senior cats. That will be if you need your dog, your cat for a vaccine, go see them. Over the library, they'll have adult yoga tomorrow morning from 10:30 to 11:30 by Humbling Bloom. Get Crafty adult craft class at 2 o'clock. They're going to be making wreaths. And then lots of food trucks. The Kerr Arts and Cultural Center will be having their ice cream social fundraiser at the Hill Country Arts Foundation from 2 to 3. And then summer Saturdays at the farm at Sovereignty Ranch, which is in Kerr County, right along the border in Bandera County. There's the Friends of the NRA banquet. I think they'll be talking about guns there.
Possibly.
Kerrville Classics on Saturday night playing here at Pine and Plow from 6 to 8. Lone Star 118 at Tail Chasers at 6 o'clock. Modal Mojo at Cafe at the Ridge at 6. Brent Ryan at Trailhead at 7. Joel McCall over at Central Provisions at Joel McCall, not Joe. He'll be playing over at Central Provisions at 7 o'clock. Mesquite Ramblers at Gravity Check at 7. Analog FM at Cailloux Theater. We'll hear more about that in a moment. And then the Louise Hayes Band over at Howdy's Bar and Grill at 8 o'clock.
There's the Louise Hayes Band. That's fun.
And then we've got the Book of Will.
Saturday night.
Promises, also Saturday night. And we're winding down the season for Kreider's Rodeo and Dance Hall. Just a couple weeks left. They go through Labor Day. Maybe I should try to go out there this weekend. So anyway, that's what we've got going on. Obviously, don't want to miss that event over at the Riverside Nature Center with the astronaut making an appearance there to talk about space, of course. A couple other things I want to get to, by the way. We also have coming up later on this year, believe it or not, it's not November 11th through 15th. It's going to be December 1st through the 18th, I think. The 12 Days of Giftmas, brought to you by Gibson's Discount Center. And our good friends at Blue Oak Trading Company will be involved as well. They don't know that yet, but I have a rule. If you've advertised with us, you get to be in the 12 Days of Giftmas. If you want to participate in the 12 Days of Giftmas and you haven't advertised, it's $75 to do it for all 12 days. So it's a steal. That's a pretty good deal, I think. 12 days of being on the show for $75.
You're on every day?
Every day.
Wow, that is pretty good.
Every single day. All right. Amy Goodyear's here. What are you watching right now? What
am I watching right now?
What are you excited about? I think the new season, by the way, of Lord of the Rings looks fabulous.
I'm ready. We got 2 weeks. So Marcus and I are trying to finish the second season of Outer Range before it starts.
Is it finishable? I haven't even started it.
Outer Range?
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating. I love it, but it's this brilliant combination of Western and sci-fi, and throw in a whole lot of Twin Peaks in there, and it's definitely got a lot of Twin Peaks nods. So that makes me a huge fan of it. Josh Brolin is brilliant. It's very strange. I mean, I'll just flat out say it's very strange, but it's fantastic. We're loving it. And so Marcus likes to watch one show at a time. So I can balance 5 or 6 shows at a time. But so together we have one show we watch, and then of course I have what I'm watching. But I'm actually
finally, as much as I love television, I finally got to what I think is probably the sort of genesis of this new kind of TV renaissance that I talk about.
Yeah.
I'm finally watching Lost.
Are you really?
I never watched it when it first came out because I was having babies and dealing with toddlers. Right. And I never got to watch it when it first came out. And I know it has a lot of Twin Peaks influence as well, and just some other stuff. And I don't know. I somehow stayed away from all the spoilers. I don't know what it's about. I don't know what happens. And I'm finding it just fascinating. I always heard, I would watch it occasionally, and I'm like, I don't know. It sort of meandered at times, and I'm only in the second season, and I've heard that it kind of loses its way a little bit the further it goes.
Right.
But right now when you can, as much TV and things as I watch, when you can genuinely surprise me, where my jaw drops to the floor, that's kudos to that. I can say that's impressive. And
there's some shows out there that still hold up really well, and there's some shows that they're just terrible.
Oh, sure. Well, some things just don't have that, iconic level to it. But I think that Lost still does. And if you don't tell me anything, if you've watched it, I somehow know nothing. So.
Yes.
I'm enjoying that.
There's some shows that just that you watch me like, man, how did this make it? How did this work? But right now it's the issue of I saw somebody talking about this the other day, that there are shows that get lost. There's movies that get lost.
Oh, sure.
That because there's so much high quality content out there. And I think that's the thing that's interesting about where we're at. People bitch about, oh, there's nothing to watch. It's all garbage. And it's like, if you really dig into some of the stuff that's out there,
well, I mean,
it's pretty good.
Agreed.
There's
Though
some pretty
I
good
think,
stuff. Although I am still amazed I can't find certain things. Like, I don't know if I want to watch that or not. I don't know.
I mean, you know, there's so much variety, and that there's going to be different things that interest different people.
Yeah.
And you know, some people aren't interested in sci-fi, or they're not interested in
Right.
horror, they're not interested, whatever. They're trying to find. I know a lot of people who say when they sit down and watch TV, they want to watch something light and funny, and that doesn't really, you know, involve, you know, getting out character charts. But that's what I love. I love shows like Dark, and I love shows like where you have to, you know, follow a complicated storyline and all these characters. But for some people, that's not enjoyable. So even though I think that's really brilliant, if you don't, you know, if that's not your cup of tea,
Right.
you know, there's not. So when people say there's nothing to watch, maybe there's nothing to watch for them.
I tell you, there's some stuff out there, you know, right now. Like Dark is one I never finished. Never finished it. And
Brilliant from top to bottom.
And I agree with you completely.
But very complicated.
And-
we literally
and-
had to look up a character,
Right.
like, you know, spreadsheet thing
Yeah.
to follow. Okay, so here's this person in this era, and this person is now in this era, because, you know, it jumps all over time,
Right.
space, and it's wild. But I just thought it was close to perfect as you can get.
There's another series on Amazon Prime, by the way. I don't know. Let me see if I can find what's going on with this. If you like, open range, right? Is that
Outer Range.
Outer Range. Check out Night Sky with J.K. Simmons.
I was gonna
and
say, I
Sissy
saw that.
Spacek. Did you watch it?
Yes, I was gonna say that's the one with the yes.
Yeah, when they go
it's
into
it's pretty fantastic
they
too.
go into another universe, basically.
There's basically like an underground bunker on
Yeah.
their property that they
Right.
discover, and it's basically a portal to another planet.
Yeah.
But J.K. Simmons, I'm a massive fan of.
Yeah.
Love him.
Right.
And he's fantastic in this. So yeah, I've seen that.
But I don't think they've planned. I don't know if there's.
I haven't heard if there's a
second
season or not. There wouldn't need to be. I mean, it kind of wrapped the story up.
You think so?
I think. You mean you could. It left some things open, but it
Yeah.
also, to me,
Because
answered what you needed to
there
know.
were some other layers in that too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. But I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, maybe it's better
Yeah.
to leave things where they are and let your imagination
Right.
answer the rest.
Right. Yeah. There's so many good things, and then like you look at the characters that are in there, like, you know, Sissy Spacek.
She's brilliant.
She is brilliant. You know.
And I love that sort of she kind of went away for a while
Yeah.
and has had kind of a comeback.
Yeah. You can't ask for a better breakout performance than hers in Coal Miner's Daughter, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
She's so watchable in that, you know.
Yeah.
All right. So what's going on in the Cailloux?
Yes, so live theater. I love TV, but I love live theater even more. This is a big weekend at the Cailloux and the VK Garage Theater. We've got something going on every day, all weekend. Obviously, this is the second weekend of the Book of Will, which I'm a little bit partial to since I directed it. But opening weekend audiences were just really taken with the show. It's really engaging. It's emotional. It's funny. We had people standing on their feet. We had, you know, tears and laughter. And it's a top-notch cast. I mean, I know it's easy for me to brag since I cast them, but
Right.
It really is kind of the cream of the crop performances going on.
It sounds like it. So.
And it's such a beautifully written play too. Just, you know, a good script is so fundamental to me for a show to be enjoyable. Sometimes you'll see a play and you're like, well, I just didn't, you know, that didn't really move me, or I really didn't attach to that. And a lot of times it's because you just aren't able to engage with the script in the same way.
Right.
And this is just a really sweet, engaging script. I will say it helps to be a fan of Shakespeare to really engage with the script. I mean, it's definitely a love story to Shakespeare, but it's also it's bigger than that too. I mean, it's also about relationships and community and kind of the importance of stories.
Right.
In that. So if you're a reader, you're a writer, you like watching stories on television,
Yes.
or you like movies. I mean, all of that. I think we fail to realize how much of that we owe to Shakespeare. How much of the stories and the kind of iconic characters and things and just kind of the structure of our narratives come from his work.
I mean, you think about the masters that and he gets credited for so many things that he did and didn't do either, too. So,
Yeah, and it's hard to know, and there's all that, rumors of did Shakespeare write alone or were there other writers? And then there's definitely evidence that he collaborated on several of his scripts with other writers. But ultimately, I don't think it matters if Shakespeare's sort of like a mythic icon. I think that's okay.
Yeah, right.
I think we can have him there, and I also think he was a very real man who wrote some very real plays.
Right.
Anyway, that's if Book of Will would love to have you. I will tell you that space is pretty limited in the VK for this show, so you'll want to get your tickets as soon as you can. We run tonight 7:30, tomorrow 7:30, and we do have a Sunday matinee this week at 2:30.
What does the VK hold? About 100 people?
It depends on the setup. The VK is a true black box, which means it's completely I don't know versatile as far as the setting. We can set the chairs up and the stage in any direction, any capacity, any layout. So with this particular layout, I'm essentially doing a theater in the round type setup almost.
Right.
There's audience on both sides, and right now we're seating about 85.
Right.
So it's fairly small. Max capacity, if we have our largest setup, we can usually do about 120.
Right. There's so much to go and do and see and enjoy. And then you have other things going on.
That's going on all weekend at the VK. Then in the Cailloux Theater on Saturday night, we have a super fun show. It's called Analog FM. It's a band of musicians that have toured and played with some of the biggest names in rock and roll, and they're kind of retired from doing the tour scenes, so they've gotten together and formed this group. And man, I've seen their set list. It's like the best songs from the 70s and 80s, and even trickling into a little bit of the early 90s, but mostly just kind of, it's the idea of the big radio hits from that era. That they're going to be playing, and I think it's just going to be super fun. And the tickets are really affordable. Our cheapest tickets are $12 for that concert. So yeah, it's a good deal. You can get great seats for a really good price, and it's going to be a really fun evening. I plan to start my show over at the VK and sneak in and hear some of this because they're really good.
Here's the thing: when do the Celtic Angels come back?
I'm not sure. They're not coming back this year.
What?
Yeah, they couldn't get on their tour. We are bringing the Nutcracker back.
Okay,
So we're going to have full-scale Nutcrackers coming back. But yeah, we're not going to be having the Angels back. But I will see. We'll look into bringing. Next year is kind of a fun year for the Cailloux Theater. We've got a little hiatus there in the middle of the year where we're going to be closed.
They really liked the photo they took of them last year.
Oh, you took some beautiful photos of them. Yeah.
They were like sharing those like crazy.
Yeah, they were great. They were great. And then on Sunday, speaking of the Cailloux Theater and cool things like the Celtic Angels were part of our Cailloux Performances series last year.
Yeah.
And this Sunday, we are doing we do this every year. We do a big kind of fun, exciting premiere party where we tell you'll be the first to hear about the 6 shows that are going to be part of the Cailloux Performances series for 24-25.
That's Sunday?
It's Sunday at 5 p.m. in the Cailloux Theater. Come in the lobby. We're going to have some refreshments and drinks and kind of fun stuff. Free event, no ticket required. Just come on in and join us, and then we'll have about a 20-minute presentation, show you some videos and clips of the 6 different shows. We've got some exciting stuff.
This is last year. This is where we argued about this last time. Didn't Jeffrey get up and sing last year for this?
That's at Dinner with the Stars, which we can also talk about. That's coming in October, but that's our big fundraiser gala.
Okay.
This is not really a fundraiser other than you will have a chance to buy tickets for the Performances series. You can be the first to get your favorite seats. We are going to be doing a drawing to win a free pair of the entire series.
Yeah.
All 6 shows. It's like a $500 value.
Why doesn't Jeffrey do like a variety show?
Well, that's what our Dinner with the Stars is every year. So I'll throw that in. So Dinner with the Stars is coming. It's our annual fundraiser gala. It's on Saturday, October 12th. This year we have the I Love the 80s theme, which we're going to be doing a show every year. If you've never been to our gala, get your tickets. We're pretty small scale because we can't fill the Cailloux lobby too much, but so we tend to sell out pretty fast for our gala because it's the most fun gala in town, in my opinion. Everybody dresses up in costumes and fun, since we've got an 80s theme. That's going to be really fun for dinner. And then we always do about an hour-long show of variety musical review show.
Wow.
Jeffrey puts together with some of the most popular, best singers in the area singing hits from different musicals. This year, because it's an 80s theme, they're going to be singing songs from musicals that came out in the 1980s.
Yeah, right.
And if you don't know, a lot of our favorites, Phantom of the Opera, Cats, Evita, Les Mis, they all came out in the 80s. They were all released in the 1980s.
Saw so many of those. I never saw a single one of them, but man, the commercials were nonstop back in the day.
So it was kind of a big revival period for the big scale musical.
Yeah.
So some of everybody's
Argentina.
Yeah, everybody's favorites. So that's going to be a fun show.
Why won't this click on? Why can't I open this photo view?
What are you trying to open?
You're really angry in this
Well, that's
photo.
because that's just a collection of photos. If you click on photo galleries,
Is that right
it's
there?
going to take you to a
Oh, there it
page.
is.
Yeah, a page with different links to photo galleries from the last 6 years. I think I went back to 2019.
Nice.
So yeah, it's going to show you. It may take a little bit to load because they're large, but yeah. So it's a little bit of a photo review of all the
Nice.
shows this year. I think I've got them there up through Shrek.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. So that's always fun to look
Brigadoon
back
was
at.
delightful, by the
Brigadoon
way.
was beautiful.
It really
yeah,
was.
it really was. It was a lovely play.
What's
lovely
this lady's
piece.
name right here on the left?
Which lady?
I saw
on
her
the
the other-
left.
on the left.
Meg Traverso.
Yeah, she's terrific.
She's fantastic.
Yeah.
Love her.
She
She's
was
brilliant.
how many things is she in a year?
It kind of depends. She was in Curious Incident. She played the
Yes,
mom.
she
She
played
was
the
in
mom.
Brigadoon.
She was really good as the mom
in-
because she was really tortured in that.
Yes. Yes. And Meg is both a brilliant comedian and a dramatic actress.
I can see that.
So she was also in Shakespeare in the Park, Comedy of Errors.
Right.
And then she was, of course, she is our assistant youth director.
Oh, is she?
Yeah. So she was heavily involved in getting the kids ready for Shrek and dealing with all of that. So yeah, she's a big part of our family, and we've got a lot of talent. A
Now,
lot of super
this
talented.
young lady who played in the lead in Brigadoon, who's this right here?
River Wellborn.
River Wellborn. She's terrific.
She is also terrific.
Yeah. What a cast.
It was a great show. We've got there's a lot of great shows happening at the Cailloux Theater always. The next thing up for Playhouse 2000 will be The Importance of Being Earnest,
Okay.
which is a classic comedy, Oscar Wilde. It's as it bills itself, it's a trivial comedy for serious people.
Right.
But it's going to be a lot of fun, and that's going to be in the VK Garage Theater in October.
I think the Curious Case was probably the most compelling thing.
Thank you.
It was fascinating.
It was a lot of fun to work on, and I've been in love with that play ever since. Well, I've been in love with the book ever since I read it with my daughter when she was in middle school.
Right.
And it's just a brilliant stage adaptation script
Right.
with Tony winner, Olivier winner, which is the British version of the Tonys.
Right.
And so I was just thrilled to be able to put it together and work on it.
The
And
lead was what was her name again?
Emery Dorman.
So I saw her in here the other day.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt. Yeah, brilliant young actress. And just I had a fantastic cast
That
there
Chris
too.
Kissel guy. Yeah, he was
Also brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a fantastic actor. Love to have him on our stage. And a great member of our community as
That's
well.
pretty good. I've been to at least 3 things.
I say, I
4
think
things.
you took pictures at a lot of this stuff. But
Yeah, 4 things. I didn't get to the Charitable Sisterhood of the Second Trinity Church.
Funny, sweet piece. Church lady piece.
And I missed
great actresses.
the
You missed Shakespeare?
Shakespeare this
Oh,
year.
it was hilarious. It was
So-
just goofy.
Yeah.
But super fun.
Right.
So yeah, we have, we stay busy. We have between Playhouse 2000 and the P2K Youth Program and our Shakespeare in the Park, we have about 10 shows a year.
Do you really?
That are just our Playhouse produced
Wow.
shows, not to mention everything that goes on at the Cailloux Theater, which of course we also have a hand in. There's last year's shows.
I did go. Which one did I see last year? I saw Shakespeare in the Park last year.
Richard III, yeah.
And A Murder is Announced. I think I was at.
That was my Agatha Christie last year. Doing Agatha Christie again next year.
Yes.
So stay tuned.
And that was about it last year as far as your
Well, you
guys'
should
stuff.
come more often, man.
Well, I just like taking pictures of Marcus as a dead body. So
He did die in Richard III, and he
Yes.
died in Murders Announced.
Yes.
He's in Book of Will, but he doesn't die.
he only has a few lines though.
He does, yeah. Well, I have 18 people in that show, 12 men.
Did you know that Leslie's has 6 lines in this little Shakespeare thing over?
I know. I'm in it too. I don't have my parts yet. I don't know what I'm playing, but
Really?
I am part of the Hot Shakespeare cast. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
So that's a Point Theater thing, but we support each other. We're one big theater family, and so we're always trying to to support each other. So yes, so go see Promises this weekend, and then come to the Cailloux Theater for Book of Will or Analog FM. Or there's just so many choices in this town. It's kind of overwhelming sometimes.
It is overwhelming.
But
it is overwhelming.
There's quality thing for a town this size. And that was one of the main reasons why when we were looking to move here 20 years ago, I was like, I can't believe how much art and music and theater and culture is in this town.
Yep.
And it's just grown exponentially since then.
And like when we read off the list of things to do.
Yeah, there's like 80 something every weekend.
Yeah, we always qualify. You know what amazes me is how many people unsubscribe from that particular list.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Because they just don't want to see it?
I don't know. It's bizarre. We just went through a whole redoing of our email. We changed email platforms, so there is some confusion about this too. But literally, we have, and it's less than 1%, but it's like 3 or 4 people every time we send out the. That's the most unsubscribed thing we do.
Huh?
Is
people just
they don't want to know.
Overwhelmed.
They don't want to know.
Well,
it's so interesting.
I will tell you, the theater, and I think probably anybody in the performing arts would agree with this right now. Live music, dance, theater, whatever.
Yeah.
That we're still struggling to get people back from COVID.
Well,
it's like COVID got people sort of used to staying at home and watching TV.
Yeah.
I'll grant you, I love TV, but there's just nothing like the experience of getting out and being in community with people that you live with and enjoying things together. And it's getting better every year, a little better.
It always makes me think though, like you were saying though, like what is that person like? If they don't want to know, like we put nothing in there.
I know there's no, you're not pushing anything. There's no agenda.
There is some advertising in there. Your ads are in there. It last weekend though, it was interesting was that last weekend we saw, our measure of our success is open rate. And so during the summer, it's like, everyone's gone. No one looks at it. It's like 26%. But the minute that school's back in session,
people
we're
are like
oh, what's going on? We're stuck here. What do we got to do? Oh my God.
I'm always stuck here. I have no money.
I know. But like, when I hear people say there's nothing to do here, like
no, there's a lot to do here.
Go over to the Museum of Western Art. It's $7 and you can go sit in a marvelous air-conditioned building and look at art.
But that's the thing. You've got to explain to people why it's important to look at art.
Yeah.
Why it's important to support live music. Why it's important to be at live theater. Why these things are important because they are. I hate to say, the theater's been dying for hundreds of years, right? People have been talking about that.
They're always threatening that.
Yeah, the theater is never going to die, but if we don't continue to support it, it's so surprising to me how there will be people that say, "Oh, I've never been to a play before," and they'll come to see something because they've got a friend in it.
Yeah,
or they'll come to see something at Playhouse and be like, "This is really cool. I didn't know live theater was like this." And I think
what needs to happen in live theater.
It is. We want to encourage.
I don't know when it was from, but I saw Jennifer Garner and Kevin Kline in Cyrano, and I was like, I'd pay to go to see that.
Well, sure.
I'd go pay to see Kevin Kline.
There's stuff coming out on Broadway right now that just have you heard about Bill and Ted in Waiting for Godot?
No, really.
So I can't remember I'm going to be terrible. I'm going to remember the other actor's name, but yeah,
Keanu's going to do it.
Keanu Reeves and I think it's Alan something. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. Anyway, somebody's going to. But Bill and Ted, they are going to be Broadway and Waiting for Godot that opens next year, which I think would just be fantastic. The only reason I'd ever want to see Waiting for Godot again would be to see those two.
I think Keanu Reeves is one of those great talents who's just an earnest person who
he really is.
You want to go.
He has no pretense.
Yeah,
it's like you get what you get with him, and sometimes it just works brilliantly. Right. And I think Waiting for Godot is one of those shows, and I think he's just going to fit amazingly. And I'd love to get to New York to see that. But you don't have to go to New York to see great stuff. No. There's something every weekend practically in this town. Between the Point Theater, even when I go a little further, go out to Fredericksburg, go to Bernie. If we don't have anything on, there is. Yeah,
and you get those touring groups that come into San Antonio too that you can go and see. But it's just like it's funny like when we're talking about the Celtic Angels, some people think is like kind of silly, but the production values are fabulous.
It's gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. I mean, and if you of course you saw their Christmas show is what they brought last year. But yeah, I mean the music is beautiful. Like you said, the production values, the costumes, you're going to get as professional an experience with the groups that we bring into the Cailloux Theater as you are going down to San Antonio.
Right.
I mean, we really, and that's why I'm very grateful to the city of Kerrville and the EIC for the work that they're going to be doing next year to really get the Cailloux where it needs to be for us to be able to continue bringing those kinds of experiences to this community.
It's kind of interesting. Like when you look at our facilities again, I mean, and we have so many venues that it's like we're a city of 25,000, but we have, and you could do so much, in the places that we already have.
Yes.
Like there's performance spaces here that we don't even think about as being brilliant performance spaces. Like, right across the street, you have First Presbyterian Church. Not only do you have First Presbyterian Church as a performance space in their new sanctuary, but the old sanctuary is pretty darn good too.
Some beautiful acoustics. Yeah. It's great for like small chamber groups and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We've seen
the Camerata plays in there, and it's fabulous.
It is fabulous.
And they have a pipe organ that's incredible. So anyway, we can go on and on and on.
Anyway, come out and see us.
Did you see Deadpool yet?
No. Sorry, not a fan.
What?
No, I mean, it doesn't bother me. I'm just not a big. To be honest, I am not a big superhero movie person at all.
What about Marcus? Would you go see Deadpool?
Also, not the biggest superhero. He and I much prefer science fiction, which I know superheroes technically are. I guess maybe I don't know. No, I know. Just I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm sure it's hilarious. Love me some Hugh Jackman, but
Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds just going at it.
They're fantastic performers, no doubt.
No doubt about it.
Not super my cup of tea.
Would you go see Hugh Jackman? What would be your thing to see Hugh Jackman in on Broadway?
Well, man, I'm really sorry I missed The Boy from Oz. 20 years ago.
Right.
Actually, a childhood friend of mine was his understudy on Broadway.
What would you put if you could cast
heard
anything?
It was wonderful.
Here's who you have to cast. All right. Hugh Jackman, Channing Tatum.
Okay.
All right. Let me give you my cast here. Let me think about this.
Am I casting a musical or am I casting a play?
Let's see. Well, let's see. Let me see here. Let me see. Hugh Jackman. I'm going to say a musical because Hugh Jackman, Channing Tatum. What's dude's name from what's the guy's name from How I Met Your Mother?
Neil Patrick Harris.
Doogie Howser.
Doogie Howser. Had a poster of him on my bedroom wall when I was a kid.
Did you really?
Yes.
As Doogie Howser?
Yes. I went from a crush on Neil Patrick Harris to a crush on Kyle MacLachlan from Twin Peaks.
From Twin Peaks.
Basically replaced Doogie with...
Did you watch that one that he was in? It's interesting. If you watch the Dune version that he's in...
David Lynch's Dune? Oh, I've seen it many times.
I watched it again the other day, and I'm like, man, it is creepy and weird.
It's actually pretty cool, to be honest.
It is pretty cool. The costumes are cool.
I mean, I'll grant you.
There's various versions of it,
too.
The
newer ones are astounding in comparison. But it is...
Yeah, but also it's also very... there's a harshness to it.
There's a lynchness to it.
There's a lynchness to it, which is like has some sadistic type stuff in it. Okay. Here's my cast. You're gonna have to count.
Sorry for your audience.
What was the girl from High School Musical? Vanessa Hudgens. Okay.
Good grief.
Let me see. And okay, here's your cast. All right. Okay.
A musical. I don't cast musicals very often.
Okay, here's your cast. I'm your casting director. Your cast is going to include who else? I'm missing somebody. Okay. And okay. Okay, here we go. Hugh Jackman. Here's your cast.
Okay.
Channing Tatum, Neil Patrick Harris, Lea Salonga.
Okay.
Vanessa Hudgens, the guy from Willow, the midget from Willow.
Right.
Who played Wicket.
Yeah.
Ricky Gervais, John Turturro, and Selma Hayek. That's your cast. What do you put them in?
Well, as you were naming them, I was thinking how I could fit them all into Hamilton.
You could fit them in Hamilton.
I think you could fit those into Hamilton. It would be an interesting, different perspective
It'd be a different perspective. Who plays Hamilton though?
Name me the guys again.
Hugh Jackman. He's gonna play Washington. He's gonna play Washington.
He's probably Washington.
Channing Tatum, Neil Patrick Harris.
Honestly, probably Harris.
Would be Hamilton.
Yeah.
Ricky Gervais could be like
King.
The King. Oh, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be great.
Yeah.
Wouldn't he?
You'd actually be a pretty good king.
Leah Salonga and Vanessa Hudgens and Selma Hayek could be.
That's the trio.
The Schuyler sisters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what we would do with Wicket from the Ewok. He could be Jefferson.
I say he'd be actually a kind of a fun twist on Jefferson.
Channing Tatum could be Aaron Burr.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Because Channing Tatum is one of those guys who can sing and dance.
He is surprisingly versatile.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's funny as hell.
He really is.
He's not as good of a singer, but he's a great dancer.
He can sell it. As I always say, I love performers who can sell it. He can sell it.
Oh man, that's okay. All right.
There you go.
John Turturro too. We put John Turturro in.
Oh man, I don't even know if he can sing.
I don't know if he can sing good. He's weird looking.
I love him though.
All right.
I just watched Severance. Oh God, he's brilliant in that. Yes.
There's like all these people that just showed up all of a sudden, and they're like,
it's Friday. They're getting coffee.
Like, hi, you guys. How are you? All right. They're looking at us and waving. All right. What did we learn today?
Oh man, I learned that apparently you have to know how to dance to join a sorority. I guess, or at least you can sway in the background.
I just saw there was an article about on Google News right now. Where did it go? The Bama Rush obsession is real. Inside the phenomena of the OOTDs and sorority recruitment. This is from USA Today. Bama Rush Week is happening right now. And it is on TikTok, and it's the potential new members, or PNMs as they're called, taking over. Mm-hmm. The girls who are part of Greek life of the university have racked up thousands of followers and millions of views on TikTok. Each girl has created their own engaging style, taking followers with them as they get closer to bid day. Bama Rush. Oh my gosh!
Glad I went to college in the 90s.
I'm surprised they didn't suck you into it. Wasn't it like a theater, sorority? So
no.
Yeah, these girls.
There were barely any theater people at A&M.
What's
there were
crazy
some.
Is
we had our
group. These girls
group.
spend thousands of dollars on this stuff.
I mean,
too.
their parents spend thousands of dollars.
Yeah, the uncomfortably expensive bracelets of Bama Rush are going viral on TikTok. All right.
It's a crazy world.
Brad Gilbert says good morning to everybody.
Good morning, Brad Gilbert. Have a great opening, my friend. He is the lead in Promises out at the Point Theater, so you should go catch him.
All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great weekend. Enjoy it. We love you. We appreciate you. We've learned a lot on this as well. And I'm grateful that Amy Goodyear can come here, and we always have a good time.
We do.
Yeah, I always like it when we have these one-on-one conversations.
I hope your audience isn't too irritated by our one-on-one conversations.
It's okay. Don't forget that Ken Supple Ford, for all your service needs, make an appointment today at 830-257-5557. They will help you out at Quick Lane, and we'll see you guys again on Monday.
Have a great weekend.
Thanks.